being respected is as important as being loved. It's not making anyone uncomfortable. If you don't understand that how it is so crucial to not make yourself uncomfortable. Being a people pleaser is hard to quit. There are two scenarios. When you offend someone, you said what you want, you set your boundaries, you offended someone. There are two scenarios why this might happen. Hurt, you're this, you're that. Don't just run and be like, no, I'm not that. I'm such a good person. Like, is that like a secondhand compliment? I was offended. Hi, today I want to talk about how there are certain sentences that I started to take as compliments now that I know what they actually mean most of the time. First of all, you are so hard to understand. You are so hard to control. These sentences usually means that you are so good at setting boundaries that it made me uncomfortable. If you like certain things, that means you should unlike certain things. So you cannot be this person who's always okay with other people's actions and other people's behavior towards you. You cannot be always okay with that. You have to set certain boundaries. And if the person is telling you, you are so hard to deal with, I don't understand, congratulations, that means you were successful at your boundaries. That means you evoke something in them and they realize that they cannot treat everyone in the same way and accept it to be okay. You are allowed to have boundaries. Sometimes we just get so stuck on being the kindest, being helping others, not making anyone uncomfortable. If you don't understand that how it is so crucial to not make yourself uncomfortable. I had someone told me that I remind them of a song. And I was excited. I was like, which song? And it turns out to be The Girl by Beatles. Girl by Beatles. And I was like, is that like a secondhand compliment? I was offended. For some reason I was offended, and then I realized that the person meant it as a compliment. And then I started asking myself, when did I think that being hard was actually a bad thing? Obviously the song was kind of like a joke, it was really exaggerated, but the point was, they explained to me later that I was so good at putting boundaries. I was so good at doing what I want. I was so good at being vocal about it, and it kind of surprised me because I was trying to be, but I was not quite sure I was there yet, because being a people pleaser is hard to quit. Always trying to be kind is hard to quit. You should be kind, like I said before, but you can be kind and also set boundaries. Who said that it's not possible? Who said that in order to be kind, you have to be kind to everyone, even that means torturing your own mental health? That's not the truth. You have to make peace with being bad in some people's eyes. You have to make peace with the fact that your boundaries are going to make someone very uncomfortable. You're going to be the bad person in their story. There's nothing you can do to change that. You can just be like, oh, I never did anything bad to them. I never hurt them. You don't have to be the bad guy in someone's story. Maybe all you did was setting up boundaries, and that was enough for them to label you as hard, to label you as confusing. And it's not your fault. It's not something you can change, and it's not something you should change, to be honest. All of the successful people I had in my life were always so vocal about what made them uncomfortable. They were not close with everyone. They had set their boundaries straight up. Being a people pleaser is constantly draining your energy. Even if you're a people pleaser in work, you're a people pleaser in your social life, your relationship, you just want to give and give and give, and you want to be labeled as the kindest person, you want to be labeled as the most humble person, which is all of good things, but what they're bringing you, what they're doing to your mental health is something you should seriously consider. Being respected is as important as being loved, and in so many cases it is more important. And to be respected, you have to set boundaries. Being the kindest doesn't get you respect, unfortunately. Setting your boundaries straight does. So I had to learn that, to take it as a compliment when someone's like, yeah, you're kind of hard, you're kind of hard to please, you're like very vocal about what you want. I was offended. And then when I heard their perspective, I was like, yeah, why did I try all of this time to not be hard? I was just trying to keep this balance so much, being vocal about my needs, but still being the kindest, not being bad in anyone's story. It's not gonna work like that. You have to be okay with the fact that you are a hard to please, a hard person in someone else's mind. You evoke something in them. You set boundaries that they couldn't. There are two scenarios. When you offend someone, you said what you want, you set your boundaries, you offended someone. There are two scenarios why this might happen. First, they're not good at setting boundaries. You are looking at this people pleaser, next level people pleaser. They never set a boundary in their life. They're offended. They're like, oh, she's a bad person. You're doing bad things. I am not doing them. They're trying to label you because they have never been able to set boundaries and they have become miserable because of that. And the second scenario is they're so good at setting boundaries, they're so used to being the hardest to please in the room, it's either their way or the highway. So when you set your boundaries, they are triggered. They're triggered. They're like, I am the only one who can do that. I am the only one who other people should please, not you. And that is the second scenario. And in those both scenarios, it's not your problem. None of it is your problem. If someone is being so hard all the time, never learned in their life to compromise, so they're triggered by your boundaries, it's not your problem. If someone never learned how to put boundaries, it is also not your problem. When someone tells you you're hurt, you're this, you're that, don't just run and be like, no, I'm not that. I'm such a good person. It doesn't mean that you're not a good person. Just smile, stay calm, and accept that. Accept that you were hard in their story. You know who you are. You know your heart. It's time to make peace with setting boundaries and all the labels that come with that in order to live a successful life.